Welcome to this explainer. Okay, today we're putting a microscopic lens on one of the most talked about, yet honestly deeply misunderstood organs in the human body. We're talking about the thyroid gland. We're going to break down its actual role, how it literally drives your metabolism, and the absolute truth about how to properly fuel it using evidence-based nutrition. Let's just jump right in. So, how many times have you heard someone, or maybe even yourself, blame unexplained fatigue, low energy, or sudden weight gain on a slow metabolism? And the immediate suspect? It's almost always a broken thyroid. But while thyroid disorders are very real and absolutely require proper medical care, they're actually way less common than people think. Things like physical activity, sleep, stress, and your diet usually play a much larger role. To truly figure out why, we actually need to rethink what metabolism even means. Right, so before we go blaming the thyroid for everything, we have to understand that metabolism isn't just some dial that turns your calorie burning up or down. It's actually millions of chemical reactions constantly firing off inside your body every single second. These reactions convert your food into usable energy, mostly in the form of ATP, or adenosine triphosphate. Just think of ATP as your body's rechargeable battery. Every heartbeat, every muscle movement, every thought you have, it all requires ATP. I mean, even while you're sleeping, your body is actively burning calories just to keep you alive, maintaining what we call your resting metabolic rate. Okay, enter the thyroid. This tiny 1-ounce butterfly-shaped gland sits right at the front of your neck. Now here's the kicker. The thyroid doesn't actually create energy itself. Instead, it acts exactly like your body's metabolic thermostat. Think about the thermostat in your house. It doesn't generate heat, right? It just tells the furnace when to kick on. Well, the thyroid regulates how quickly and efficiently your cells use energy. It basically sets the pace for the whole operation. And this thermostat is controlled by this incredibly elegant 4-step chain of command called the hypothalamic-pituitary-thyroid axis. Here's how it works. First, the hypothalamus, which is deep in your brain, is constantly monitoring hormone levels. If they drop, it releases a messenger called TRH. Step 2, this signals the pituitary gland to release TSH, or thyroid-stimulating hormone. Moving to step 3, TSH reaches the thyroid, basically giving it the order to produce two vital hormones, T4 and T3. And finally, step 4, enzymes in your liver and kidneys grab that T4 and convert it into the active T3 hormone. Now, what's truly fascinating here is the ratio of what the thyroid is actually pumping out. When it's stimulated, about 80 to 90% of what the thyroid releases is T4. Only a tiny, tiny fraction is T3. And T4 is essentially just a storage and transport hormone. It's totally inactive. It just travels through the bloodstream until it reaches the tissues that actually need it, where it absolutely has to be converted into T3 to become biologically active and do its job. To really visualize how T3 works, imagine your body is this massive, bustling city. Your cells are the factories, the mitochondria are the power plants, and ATP is the electricity running it all. In this scenario, T3 is the city manager. Now, the city manager doesn't generate electricity directly. Instead, T3 visits every single factory in the city and orders them to, hire more workers, install more machinery, burn more fuel, and generate more electricity. When T3 gives the word, the entire city speeds up its production. But what happens when that communication breaks down? Because thyroid hormone receptors are present in literally almost every cell in your body. When the system falls out of balance, it acts a lot like a broken accelerator in a car. It doesn't just affect one single organ. The symptoms cascade throughout your entire body, completely altering your resting metabolic rate, your heart function, your digestion, and even your brain function. And as you can see, the two main thyroid disorders are practically mirror images of each other. With hypothyroidism, which is an underactive thyroid, your T3 levels fall, so everything slows down. We're talking fatigue, gradual weight gain, cold intolerance, even depression. Conversely, hyperthyroidism, an overactive thyroid, throws the body into overdrive. Your cells consume oxygen way too rapidly, and that leads to rapid weight loss, an accelerated heart rate, sweating, and severe anxiety. The tricky thing is, these symptoms can easily overlap with just, normal aging, stress, or honestly, even a poor night's sleep. Because of that, doctors rely on objective blood tests. They look at a sort of clinical dashboard. The absolute most critical one is TSH, which measures that pituitary signal to the thyroid. A high TSH means your brain is screaming at the thyroid to work harder, while a low TSH means it's telling it to slow down. Doctors will also check free T4s to see exactly how much hormone is being produced, and free T3 to measure the active hormone floating around in your blood. Now, you might have heard of reverse T3 online, but this inactive form of T3 actually has very limited clinical use. It's not routinely recommended by professional endocrine organizations. What is incredibly important, however, are antibody tests. When your immune system mistakenly attacks the thyroid, these markers can diagnose underlying autoimmune causes. Things like Hashimoto's, which is the leading cause of an underactive thyroid, or Graves' disease, the main driver of an overactive thyroid. All right, let's move on to supporting thyroid health through plant-based nutrition. So while diagnosed thyroid disorders absolutely require medical care and medication, it's actually your daily nutrition that provides the physical building blocks necessary for healthy hormone production in the first place. I mean, you can't build a strong house without good materials, right? And you definitely can't have a healthy metabolism without a nutrient-dense diet. Hormone production is a lot like an intricate factory assembly line, relying on a whole team of nutrients. Tyrosine provides the amino acid framework. Iodine attaches to it to form the actual hormone. Iron powers the enzyme that joins them together. Selenium is required to convert that inactive T4 into the active T3. And zinc helps that T3 actually bind to your cells. It really proves that your overall dietary quality matters so much more than searching for one single thyroid superfood. And the really great news here is that a well-planned, whole-food, plant-based diet can easily supply this entire assembly line. You can get plenty of tyrosine from things like soybeans and lentils. Iron is super abundant in chickpeas and spinach. Just a couple of Brazil nuts will totally cover your selenium needs. And pumpkin seeds and oats are fantastic for zinc. Throw in some sweet potatoes and carrots for vitamin A, which helps regulate that communication between your brain and the thyroid gland, and you've got yourself a beautifully nourished system. There are, however, two specific, non-negotiable watch-outs, especially for anyone on a strictly vegan diet. Because the iodine content in plants varies wildly depending on the soil they were grown in, vegans must intentionally consume reliable sources. We're talking iodized salt or sea vegetables, aiming for about 150 micrograms a day. Secondly, vitamin B12 is completely absent in natural plants. So a B12 supplement or fortified foods are absolutely 100% required to maintain healthy energy metabolism. Okay, next up, myth versus reality regarding soy and cruciferous vegetables. If you've ever searched for thyroid diets online, you have inevitably found these alarming headlines warning you that soy and cruciferous vegetables are destroying your thyroid due to compounds called goitrogens. Well, let's separate the internet myth from the actual clinical science. First, the truth about soy. Yes, soy contains isoflavones, which in a laboratory setting can slightly reduce iodine uptake. But human clinical studies tell a very, very reassuring story. Moderate soy consumption does not impair thyroid function in people who have adequate iodine in their diet. Major endocrine organizations do not recommend healthy people avoid soy. There is only one exception. If you take thyroid medication like levothyroxine, you must take it on an empty stomach and wait 30 to 60 minutes before eating soy because it can interfere with the medication's absorption. So, what about cruciferous vegetables like broccoli, kale, and Brussels sprouts? They contain glucosinolates, which can compete with iodine. But again, context is literally everything here. For someone with normal iodine levels, this competition is so tiny it has zero practical effect. The danger really only exists if your iodine is chronically low and you're eating massive amounts of these vegetables completely raw. There is actually a famous medical case of an elderly woman who developed severe hypothyroidism. But get this. She was eating several pounds of raw bok choy every single day for months. Unless you're entering a competitive raw bok choy eating contest, adding some kale to your morning smoothie is perfectly safe. No need to panic. And here's an incredibly simple fix if you are still worried about it. Just cook them. Cooking, whether that's steaming your broccoli, roasting your Brussels sprouts, or stir-frying your cabbage, significantly decreases goitrogenic activity by neutralizing an enzyme called myrosinase. And the best part? Cooking them doesn't destroy the fiber, vitamins, and minerals that make these vegetables such amazing nutritional powerhouses in the first place. The thing is, by avoiding these foods out of unfounded fear, you are really missing the forest for the trees. Soy provides high-quality, complete protein, healthy fats, and immense cardiovascular benefits. Cruciferous veggies are packed with cancer-protective phytochemicals, vitamin C, vitamin K, and powerful anti-inflammatory compounds. Eliminating them from your diet honestly does your body a massive disservice. Ultimately, the absolute most important takeaway today is that there is no such thing as a single miracle metabolism booster. A healthy metabolism is a highly complex, interconnected system. It's the result of your thyroid, your adrenal glands, your pancreas, your liver, your muscles, and your brain all working together in harmony. It relies on adequate sleep, stress management, consistent exercise, and a nutrient-rich diet. It's definitely not about a magic pill. It's about a holistic lifestyle. Understanding how your thyroid truly works replaces all that fear with cold, hard facts. You really don't need to fear broccoli, and you don't need to hunt for a magical metabolism cure. You have the knowledge right now to properly fuel the remarkable system you already have. So, what steps will you take today to stop searching for shortcuts and start truly investing in your body's long-term metabolic health? Thanks so much for joining us for this explainer, and we'll catch you next time.